All right, guys, we're in Module 3 now. I'm going to go over a concept in Chapter 2 for you today. Module 3 is going to cover Chapters 2 and 5. So look on page 15. Your first headline is going to be Fluid Imbalance. You have review of concepts and processes. Go ahead and look over that yourself. And then move on over to the right side of the page where it says movement of water. So let's talk about how we balance water and electrolytes in our body. So the first thing we want to look at is the things that help us to do this balance. How do we maintain a balance? So let's look at the thirst mechanism. All right. All right. So the hypothalamus is responsible because of osmoreceptors. These receptors sense the fluid volume and concentration and the internal environment. So say it's Texas, it's 105 degrees, you're out on the lake, there's no shade, and you have no water to drink. That's not too hard to imagine right now, is it? Okay, so here is your internal and external environment, and this affects the volume and the concentration. So as we stay out there and the hours go past, we start to get dehydrated. Your blood becomes more concentrated. Then, then the osmoreceptors stimulated in the hypothalamus make us feel thirsty. If we have water, we'll drink it. So then your antidiuretic hormone, oops, I was off on that one, wasn't I? I was a little bit off on my, okay, that was supposed to say osmoreceptors. Okay, so now your ADH is a hormone, antidiuretic hormone. The hypothalamus releases it through the posterior pituitary gland. This controls how much fluid leaves the body in the form of urine. So the ADH promotes reabsorption of the water into the blood from the kidney tubules. This is why we get the symptoms of dehydration. We get a dry mouth, we have that sensation of thirst. Your urine, if you're able to urinate, is darker, more concentrated, and you can go for hours without going to void. So because the ADH does recover water to dilute that blood plasma, because that was its trigger, that concentration in the blood decided we've got to do something to fix it. All right, and then you have aldosterone. This this determines the reabsorption of the sodium and the water from the kidney tubules. It works to conserve more fluid when there's a deficit. That's why we have the decreased urine in the smaller amount. And then you have ANP and BNP. These are natriuretic peptide hormones. They are released by the cardiac muscle fibers when there's increased pressure in the heart. These stimulate the elimination of water and sodium by either diluting veins and arteries or assisting in the removal of excess fluid and sodium by way of the kidneys. You're going to see, and this is going to be more of a water overload state. What we talked about with dehydration is obviously a water deficit. So when we get too much water, or for some reason your body's not excreting it like it should, you're going to have these hormones be released by the cardiac muscle fibers that is going to try to release some of that extra fluid. You're going to see a BNP ordered lab-wise when someone's having difficulty breathing. They come into the ER and we think they may be in congestive heart failure. These levels are going to be anywhere from 450 to 900 and even higher. A normal BNP is 100. So let's move on to another topic. Now let's look at page 21, electrolyte imbalances. These are important because this is a very big foundation for your nursing career or any healthcare career that you're going into. So let's look at, and this is with every electrolyte. I'm just going to go over the basics with you, but this is what I want you to get from electrolyte imbalances. You need to know the basis of each electrolyte. What does that mean? That means, let's take a look. For sodium, what is it? what exactly is sodium? And that's something that if you have me in clinical later on, if you come into our program, I'm always going to ask you, what exactly is it? And what I want to know is that it's the primary cation in extracellular fluid. My typing is not great sometimes. I get in a hurry. My handwriting is not much better. My goodness, let me fix it. There. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so what is it? It's the primary cation. What does it do? Okay, that is really important. What's its purpose? You're going to be asked this when you make your concept maps and when you do your clinical work. And what I want to know is that it maintains extracellular fluid through osmotic pressure. And also is essential in nerve impulse conduction and muscle contraction. These are some things that you really need to just learn from these electrolytes because you're going to see them over and over. So this is some memory work that you just have to start with. Hypo and hyper. You guys should know that hypo is less than and hyper is more than. So hyponatremia is less than 135. Hypernatremia is more than 145 because the normal value is 135 to 145. You need to know the signs of each. Hypernatremia, we kind of talked about dehydration. Think about what sodium controls, the nerves and the muscles. So weakness, lethargy, we'll have that for both hypo and hypernatremia. Do this for your other electrolytes. If they give you a table that has them kind of all there together, that's helpful. Like on page 23, table 2.5, it has your hyponatremia, your hypernatremia. Mainly, you need to find the things that are different. If everything causes anorexia, nausea, and vomiting, then don't memorize those. Memorize those things unique to that particular occurrence. So do the same thing with your other electrolytes as you study this chapter. Then I want you to go look at your acid-base balances, review the concept, and just remember that normal is very narrow, 7.35 to 7.45. Above 7.8 or below 6.8 usually results in death. Take a look on Canvas. I put acid base handbook for you in this module. There's a link to it. ABG handbook. This is the easiest method I've found to explain ABGs and to interpret them. You won't have to interpret them for this class, um, but you will eventually. So just kind of learn the concepts and you'll do great. Good luck.